Hey everybody, Jeremy Senpai here, and I am ready to talk to you again about more entertainment here on my semi-casual podcast. Alright everyone, let's see what to talk about today. Well, everybody knows about Jimmy Neutron, right? And after all this time, it is still one of my all-time favorites that Nickelodeon had to offer, especially when it comes to their quote-unquote pilot movie, Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius. But the one thing that was constant all throughout Jimmy Neutron was his quote-unquote best friend, Carl Wheezer. Alright, we all know Carl Wheezer, heavyweight, numerous medical problems, and llama lover. But I'm going to shed a bit of a dark shadow on Mr. Carl Wheezer when I say Carl Wheezer has always been jealous of his best friend Jimmy Neutron. And I am here to give you substantial proof about this. Okay, first, before anyone starts attacking me in the comments, I just want to say I don't dislike Carl. I really don't. Yes, he is a bit annoying, but I far from hate him. Granted, I'm willing to bet that there are a handful of people who are a bit annoyed by him. But what if I were to tell you that, yes, there are definitely times where he shows signs that he is jealous of Jimmy Neutron, his best friend. Now, I just want to point out that Carl does have a handful of times, just like Jimmy, just like Sheen, just like Cindy, just like Libby, where he has saved the day. Granted, this is with help from Jimmy, Sheen, or the others. Okay, to get right to the nitty-gritty. The earliest piece of evidence I could find regarding this idea was the season 1 episode I Dream of Jimmy. You see, in this episode, because Carl is having strange nightmares keeping him up at night, Jimmy volunteers to go into his dreams to help him out. However, when Jimmy enters his dreams, he discovers that Carl dreams that not only is he the genius in their friendship, but Jimmy is a complete idiot. In fact, Carl even renegates him to being his assistant monkey boy. Basically, in Carl's dreams, if I had to guess, Carl probably does think that he is a genius in his own right, but of course knows that he could never stand a chance against Jimmy. So, which is why, even though he doesn't realize it, there might be a little bit of resentment there. It's kind of a nice parallel to say Harry Potter and Ron Weasley. You see, Ron, while he does appreciate Harry's friendship, he has lived in Harry's shadow, which is a constant throughout the books and even the movies if you notice. The fact that Ron is always in Harry's shadow, and Carl, while we all know that he very much loves his friendship with Jimmy and has gone to great lengths to keep it that way, even so, there's still that resentment. There's still that feeling that I'm not as good as this person. I'm not saying that Carl outright hates Jimmy. I'm just saying that sometimes it's hard to put those feelings aside. And the biggest indicator that Carl is jealous of Jimmy is in the season 3 episode Carl Wheezer Boy Genius, which a lot of people have a lot of people, including myself, have agreed is probably the worst episode of Jimmy Neutron. Okay, Carl runs up to Jimmy and Sheen and he tells them that he has a pen pal who loves llamas and is very well accomplished. Okay, we don't find that out until later. Basically, his pen pal is very well accomplished and is coming to America on her way to a competition. So Carl, doing what we all do online, He lies and tells her that he is the boy genius and that Jimmy is an idiot servant of his. Yeah. And I just want to point out that Sheen actually has to convince Jimmy to help Carl out with this. And all throughout the episode, this is the constant theme. And Carl trying to impress his pen pal with his inventions, only to screw it up, and then Jimmy ends up saving the day, and then Carl takes out his anger on Jimmy, calling him stupid and blaming him for the entire thing. In fact, a lot of people do agree that this is probably the worst episode of Jimmy Neutron. This is basically the SpongeBob SquarePants episode, I'm with stupid, except for Jimmy Neutron. And I'm not gonna lie, I really do hate episodes where characters are blamed and ridiculed for no reason. I mean, I kind of have a bit of a love-hate relationship with Rising of the Shield Hero because of it, especially throughout Season 1 and parts of Season 2. Anyway, that is the constant theme of Carl Wheezer Boy Genius. Him blaming Jimmy when things don't go his way. Him trying to show off for this cute girl, and then when Jimmy saves the day, he gets mad at him for it. But it is worth noting that by the conclusion of the episode, his pen pal does admit that she's just a poor llama farmer visiting a cousin in order to get more supplies for their farm back home. And then Carl completely comes clean, admitting everything about himself too. And then Carl and his pen pal literally run off together. So basically the episode was completely for nothing. I mean, this is one of those episodes where it's basically be yourself and things will work out. But Carl literally harasses and abuses Jimmy all throughout the episode, and then he is rewarded for it. So that's definitely one of the biggest things right there why people hate this episode. But it does reveal a lot about Carl. He knows that there's a lot wrong with him. He knows that he's a dork. Oh, in the episode, he even embraced Jimmy telling him to go play with his llamas. He tells Jimmy to go play with his llamas, even though Carl is very much a big fan of llamas. They are his favorite animal. It's one of his defining traits. So there is a bit of a self-projection right there. The fact that Carl knows that there's a lot wrong with him, the fact that he knows he's a dork and a bit of a loser, and he does take it out on Jimmy to a degree. So yeah, Carl Wheezer has issues, not just the physical stuff, but the psychological stuff too. He knows that he could probably never measure up to Jimmy Neutron, or at the very least that's how he feels. And his subconscious, whenever he has power or say over Jimmy, he does take it out on him to an extreme level. So, like I said, Carl Wheezer, he's definitely not a favorite character of mine, because there's always that underlying trick right there. But Carl has saved the day on numerous occasions. He really has, whether it's intentionally or not. However, because he can't let go of those subconscious pressures about himself, then it's probably unlikely that'll ever be the case. But anyway, I hope that you guys like this idea. I hope that you learned something new. This is just my thoughts. The fact that Carl is a jealous friend, the fact that he may not be fully aware of it subconsciously, which is very common. Because let's be honest, human beings by nature, we are very judgmental. We like to compare ourselves to others, especially when we know our own shortcomings. But let this episode be a lesson for you. try not to compare yourself to other people best you can help it. You are doing the best you can, like we all can. And yes, I'm definitely not the best example of this, because I do compare myself to other people. It's just our subconscious speaking, and our subconscious isn't always nice about it. But overall, don't compare yourself to other people. You have wonderful traits I'm sure other people see in you. You just need to realize them for yourself. So don't be the jealous friend. Don't be that kind of person, because you are who you are and they are who they are. Overall, just don't be Carl Wheezer about that. Anyway, that's pretty much all I can think of and have to say regarding Carl Wheezer, Boy Genius. If you guys have any other thoughts, then feel free to share in the comments below. Remember to hit like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And until next time, this is Jeremy Senpai, signing off.